Big questions to answer in this video is, should you get one instead of a Porsche Macan GTS? That's the big one, right? Because that's the gold standard of fast crossovers. Should you get one versus an X3M competition?
Yep.
And if so, why? And have they done a good job tweaking this one?
Hey folks, today's video is brought to you by the people at Albert, who are changing the game when it comes to banking. The problem with traditional bank accounts, we all know. First off, there's overdraft fees, right? When you don't have any money, they take more money from you. How does that make any sense? Then you can't get cash back or points on debit purchases. You have these terrible customer service centers where you're stuck on the phone, on hold forever. It's all just a bad system. Doesn't it sometimes feel like you're being taken advantage of? Well, now Albert is here to solve that problem. Albert is different from any bank account you've ever used. It's free to sign up and super easy to use. They help you save automatically because instead of opening a traditional savings account and hoping you remember to put money in, Albert looks at your income and expenses and sees what money you can save. Then they automatically move money into your savings account, sometimes just a few dollars at a time. It's like magic, and you'd be surprised at how much you can save in just a few months. Albert is free to sign up and super easy to use. They've got a great, slick app. And you know how in most banks you have to open a savings account and then remember to move money over there whenever? Albert automatically looks at your expenses, looks at your income, and they help you automatically move money into that savings account, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, depending on your spending habits. If you get into a jam, Albert can front you $250 from your next paycheck with no interest and no credit check, so you don't run into those overdraft fee issues. You can even get paid up to 2 days early before payday if you get paid onto your Albert card. Depends on your employer's pay schedule, but that's a system that can help you get money when you need it. And let's face it, we all kind of suck at managing our money. I have other people do it because I can't be trusted. Albert has a team of geniuses on staff. They're there to help you manage your finances because we're worried about our own lives. We can't also be financial planners. So Albert's geniuses can help you with that, planning for your future. Hit the link in the description or go to albert.com/TST to get the Albert app today. And for a limited time, when you open an Albert checking account and connect a qualifying direct deposit, Albert will give you $150 into that account. Some restrictions apply, but thanks to Albert for sponsoring today's video.
Good morning, folks. It is cold up here. And even as bundled as I am, I'm unprepared. 36 degrees in the canyons this morning. Little snowflake on the dashboard of the Jaguar F-Pace SVR. I loved the first-gen F-Pace SVR. I thought it was totally underappreciated in the market. It was cool, fast, agile, sounded great.
Looks good.
And they had refreshed it. The end of last year, they refreshed it. This is the 2022 model. And big questions to answer in this video is, should you get one instead of a Porsche Macan GTS? That's the big one, right? Because that's the gold standard of fast crossovers. Should you get one versus an X3M competition?
Yep.
And if so, why? And have they done a good job tweaking this one? Those are our two big questions to go through. The boilerplate information, 5-liter supercharged V8, Jaguar Land Rover corporate engine, as it were. It's pretty much been in everything at this point. There's a joke there. 550 horsepower at 6,500 RPM, 516 pound-feet at 3,500 RPM. Got a 3,000 RPM power band, but as you will see, it's actually wider than the numbers seem. Lots of torque.
Yeah, I mean, peak torque is, what, 3,500?
Yeah.
But below that, it's making torque.
It's
still
not
making zero.
It's right, correct. 0 to 60, 3.8 the quarter mile in 12.2. Top speed of 178 miles an hour. It's got the 8-speed ZF gearbox and, of course, all-wheel drive. In the interior, we've got these neat bucket seats they're actually quite comfortable.
They are. They're thinly padded, I would say, but they're shaped really well.
They are shaped very well. No like massaging or anything, but heating and cooling, that's good. It has more cargo room than a Macan or a Stelvio by quite a lot. So if you need to haul things, it may actually be a better choice.
There's a lot of space back in the trunk.
Space.
And then the seats are like the 40-40-20 fold, so you can kind of configure as you need to. I like that.
Right, and it's got your selectable drive modes with this pop in and pop out knob.
I still like that.
That I really like. I think it goes away when you don't want it. And of course, adaptive suspension. So we will go. You got to put it in sport for manual gearbox. It will stay. And then we'll click this over to dynamic and then press it down in. So
Activate.
Activate. Dynamic
dynamism.
mode confirmed. I will say something that bothered me at first. When I'm driving the car by myself, the passenger seatbelt, take off your seatbelt for a second, Zach. The passenger seatbelt, it hangs. And it hangs low and to the left. And while there is a lot of beautiful leather in this car, the interior is really nice.
Very much
And
so.
even the seat backs are partially covered in a soft touch. The part that's against the B-pillar is not
The
soft.
side of the chair is plastic. It's this narrow. It's not much of it, but
and
it's
the
enough
B-pillar itself
that
is
the
plastic.
that
And
the
so-
seatbelt can hit it unless you move the seat further back or further forward. Yeah.
And it swings and it rattles, and it's an unrefined thing in a sea of otherwise refined.
Quite an accident in a sea
things.
of leather and Alcantara.
They've missed the one spot that something rattles against.
Yes.
I will just brake stand out of here, if you don't mind, Zach.
I do not mind. I don't mind at all.
Loads it up, brake torques, and here we go. Undramatic, but effective. Little bit of cannon fire on the upshift.
So much cannon fire. Oh my god, that is a ship worth of cannons firing every time it shifts, because it's not just one pop. It's like,
yeah, it's cutting spark there rather than cutting air. So
Wow.
yeah.
This engine in every car it's been in sounds so awesome and gnarly and aggressive. Like that is something that the Macan GTS and the X3 Comp don't have. They have a lot, but they
the
don't have
least
that.
interesting part of the Macan is the engine.
Yes.
It's not necessarily a weak point because it's effective, but it's not interesting. Whereas this is, and actually, if you leave it in quiet mode, it's considerate to your neighbors early in the morning. It doesn't have the angry Cadillac Blackwing Hellcat cold start. It has a mellow cold start, and then you got to put it in loud mode to get angry.
That is good, because you'll probably irritate enough people on the road with these exhaust notes. Like, this has been Jaguar's thing for the last 10 years, is making a really good loud engine.
Ruckus. But it doesn't burble tune. It does it when it on the upshifts, but it doesn't go super crackle and poppy on the overrun, which is good. Something like this doesn't need a burble tune.
I think that's going away a little bit because of the particulate filters, is it not? Like, that mutes that a little bit.
I don't know if it's because of a hardware requirement or because we're just over burble tune as a society.
Either way, we all benefit.
Either way. 4,800 pounds, but up here, it does feel pretty agile. The adaptive suspension, especially, it's not necessarily a fair comparison, but it's the one I've got. Coming out of the CT4 Blackwing and its amazing chassis and its amazing magnetic shocks, it feels a little harsh in the city. It absorbs the big bumps, but I feel the cracks and crags and pointy bits of the road in town. Up here, when you're transferring the weight and you've got some loading of the shocks, it manages it much better, and you go, oh, that firmness is actually okay.
Gotcha.
I love the response of the gearbox. They continue to improve it. The downshifts are very crisp. They give you the gear instantly, and you can get pretty close to the red line on the downshift.
Now, does this do the thing, the car we drove 2 weeks ago, where the downshift was like 4 times as slow as the upshift? because the torque converter. Does this do that, or is this a quicker downshift?
I think this handles it better.
Cool.
So if I go up, here's up.
Yep.
Up is pretty fast.
Yep.
Down.
Yeah, that's pretty quick.
It's pretty good. The 3.2 is the slowest of them, but I think that is because there's more spacing in between that gear.
Gotcha.
Third and fourth is what you're using for most of this road.
This is a really good seat, man. It's
a
like
good
really
seat.
holding me in well.
It's got a really nice balance in between holding you in well and keeping that sort of luxurious feel, and it's not too annoying to climb in and out of when you're like running errands.
Yeah, this is very good. I think the whole interior looks really nice. Like, it's covered in like tinsel and bright things and leather to make you think it's expensive and fancy, but it works. Like, it works on me, and it looks really nice.
It's funny, they've got this big 11.5-inch tablet thing in the middle now, and it's got some cool gizmos, and it goes faster than the old one. It's more responsive than the old one. But there are a couple of scenarios, such as manually selecting Sirius stations, where you're like, why is this thing moving so slowly?
Yeah, I filmed it. It was to Mississippi.
Yeah.
You'd hit the button, count to 2, and then it would bring up that menu of stations.
That's
And
a journalist
long time.
issue, though, because if you owned it, you would program your hot button stations, and clicking through them with the steering wheel goes really quick.
Okay.
Shall we hear it from the outside?
Of course.
It's very cold, so I'm only going to do quarter window. All right, just from one. And we'll buy Honda. And go. Well, that's the right sound.
I saw all the lights on our Zoom recorder saying we were blowing out. All of them were lit up.
All right, I'll pull over up here now that I've had my fun.
Yes.
Clapman will have some fun of his own.
I mean, I'm wearing the uniform of the interior. It looks like
do
they
match a
skinned
little
me to make this interior. This was not on purpose.
These are Clapman. It's got Jew hides.
YouTube compliance is gonna have a fun one with that.
Yeah. The tablet is funny because it looks good, and if you don't think about the last gen car, it's pretty cohesive. But if you think about the last gen car, it seems like they just put an insert into the old where the old radio went.
Yeah, if you
Like,
look behind it,
you
can
can see
see
the
a
old-
smaller square.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like they just stuck an iPad on top of the screen,
Right.
like I would have done when my BMW stereo died.
Right.
That's like the
Yeah.
move.
Yeah.
All right. Am I in the
Like
correct
what,
mode?
it's like what Alpine is doing now. You are in D, and
Dynamism?
now you are in S.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see what. This is a really good-looking truck from the outside. I like it.
Downsides, though, fuel economy is, as you can expect, pretty not great.
Oh, it's not good? That's weird.
In the urban environment, I was getting about 13.
Wow.
I got about 17 on the freeway, and since we got up the hill, we're now back down to 11.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty bad, but it's big power, big engine. It's
But the steering
Interesting.
feel is pretty good.
The steering feel is pretty good, and I noticed there's like a little bit of dive under braking or when I lift, almost that trophy truckish feeling.
It
But
moves
it's
just
minor.
enough, right?
It moves just enough. Yeah. It's nice that it's not flat locked down like the X3M or the X3 Comp was so agile and fast, but
Yeah.
so rigid. There was
Yeah.
like very little motion. Jeez, and then of course the sound is so good.
If you watch the speedometer in this car, and we don't like to talk about the speedometers in our videos, but this car is you were just going how fast? Like, because it's tall and it's smooth, and it's got so much power over such a wide power band. The speed at which it gets from 70 to 110 is pretty shocking.
All right. I believe you. It has that, it masks it like
Yeah.
any big truck. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just pulling through tens of miles per hour.
And even, it handles well enough that you can sustain a serious pace on these canyons.
Yeah. a lot of that is probably due to those big sticky tires.
Yeah,
and thankfully it has
P0s.
6-piston brakes. So what did you like, or sorry, what did you not like about the last F-Pace? Because I wasn't in that review with you.
Honestly, very little.
Okay.
I mean, the only thing I really complained about in that last one was the stereo was kind of slow to respond. Everything else about it, I was like, you're getting so much vehicle for, a pretty reasonable price. I mean, it wasn't cheap. It was still at $75,000, $80,000, and
Right.
this one's a little more. It's like 86 as tested. But compared to what you're getting with the competition, that Macan is knocking on the door of 100
Yeah.
once you get options.
This is a bigger vehicle, no?
Yeah,
A little
the
bit.
X3M comp was, I think, in the low 90s as tested, right?
I think it was like 98. Or,
Was it that? Yeah.
I think it was really close to 6 figures.
So you are getting quite a good value here
Yeah.
in terms of performance, the quality of the build, the dynamics.
It's got a great presence. I mean,
Yeah.
it's got a really good design. There's Jaguar's like muscular architecture, or not architecture, like design language. I think it really works, and this color is really good. I think the one you drove before was black, which hid a lot of the lines and the sculpting on this car.
Yeah, you could actually get it in some fun colors. You can get it in the electric blue. You can get it in like this mustard yellow that's kind of wild.
You can get it in British Racing Green, but it's a $6,000 option.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah, it's a
if you're a
lot.
Jaguar, you got to make British Racing Green a standard
Shouldn't
color.
it be free?
It should be
I mean, it's
free.
so good. They know that people will pay for it, but gosh. How does this compare against like a similarly priced Cayenne?
So this is more agile than all but the most expensive Cayenne Turbo or GTS.
Wow.
Cayenne GTS I drove was like nearly double the price of this. It
Yeah.
was like $150,000. The Cayenne Turbo S
And the Turbo
the
GT.
Turbo GT, they're like they're like over 150.
Yeah.
So you can get a Cayenne that will go this fast, but you're going to spend a lot of money on it.
What?
This
What
this
a
is
time
priced
to
like
be into cars, dude.
This is priced much more like a high-end Macan than a Cayenne.
Which is great, because then you get, I think it's around Cayenne size, but Macan pricing, good performance. Man,
Gearbox
sounds
is good,
looks
right?
it. Yeah,
The
it's pretty
gearbox
good.
is pretty responsive. I mean, it's not like I'm expecting a dual clutch. I expect this to have an automatic, but it's a very responsive automatic. It does a really nice job.
Everything is like, I like the paddles. They feel right. They're the right size. Yeah, man. I mean,
It rips.
it rips, and it does what I would want a luxury muscle truck to do. Like, it's got curb appeal. You get in the car, it looks fancy and expensive and kind of like energetic in here, and then you turn it on and it backs all that stuff up. All right, we'll find a place to pull over.
Coming up on the left, and this turnout there is a good one. Yeah, so I was impressed with it the first time around. The improvements have made it better, and the negatives are, to me, rather small. If the stereo being slow for certain functions would be pretty much negated by setting my favorites and clicking through them faster, because it does go faster when you've got favorites. The fuel economy sucks, but you don't get power for free. I mean, that's a trade-off.
You should expect that if you buy a supercharged V8.
Yeah. I mean, that is what it is. And the ride is kind of firm in the city, even in comfort mode. So a reason not to get it would be your day-to-day use is on bumpy, crappy roads. Then
Yeah.
I might not be into it. But should you get one versus a Macan? I have a hard time saying you should or you shouldn't. I love that Macan GTS. I think it's a fantastic car. But we see a ton of those. So it's okay to say, if you want something that isn't a Macan,
Yes.
then this is an excellent option.
And I think this also has more rear seat room. So
does.
if you're tall and your family are also tall, or they're over the age of 10, you're going to want more back seat room. So like you can get a lot of the verve that Macan gives you, but you have more space ultimately.
Yeah. And this engine is more interesting than Macan's engine.
Definitely.
So if you care more about the sound of the engine and a big torque band, than you do about the pinnacle of agility, then maybe lean towards this.
Yeah.
If you care, I mean, the Macan and the X3M are slightly more agile than this, but unless you're on a racetrack, you're really just kind of splitting hairs.
It's kind of like when people ask us, like, what should I daily? And it's like, well, do you do a lot of sporty driving, or do you focus on just getting around and being comfortable and enjoying your car at 5/10 or 0/10?
Yeah.
Like that's what someone would have to decide.
Yeah, but I think for $86,000 as tested, this offers a ton of speed, a ton of luxury. It looks cool. You don't see them around as much as you see tarted up Macans. The seats are really comfortable, and it's fun.
It's fun. And
It's
this
fun.
gives you more than the Levante gives you, by the way.
Yeah.
And it costs 60 grand less.
Yeah.
This is better in every way than the Levante, except maybe that felt a little bit sharper in handling, but
the Stelvio is a little faster quadrifolio, but I'd rather own this than a Stelvio.
I like this interior better.
Yeah.
The Range Rover buttons that they borrowed are nice.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So thank you to Jaguar for letting us have a go. This is it's an excellent vehicle. Good job. Thanks to you guys for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
And remember, always fight your tickets. Use code TST10 on the Off the Record app available in the Android and iOS store, or go to offtherecord.com/TST.